Hey, we're back on for our special Friday Friday night into Saturday morning edition of the Hats Hits IG Live football show, talking about Virginia high school football action from the first Friday of September 2024. It was a big night for the Commonwealth of VA. Some mega matchups, which involved the likes of a packed house at Powhatan Field in Norfolk as the Maury Commodores outlasted the Wise Pumas 20-14. Had to hold their breath at the very end. I picked it 21-13, by the way. Meanwhile, up in Richmond at the Vic, you had Highland Springs take on the Phoebus Phantoms. And what a job by Jeremy Blunt's team in this ball game to beat Highland Springs. And I'll get it out of the gate, right out of the chute here. I was wrong. I admit it. I was one of many that picked Highland Springs. Just about everybody, outside of Phoebus alums, I'd say about 70-80% of people thought it was going to be Highland Springs winning this game. Now, it's not a shocker or a big upset, big surprise, because Phoebus is very, very good. So I know that's being written and said this is a shocker. It's not a stunner. Phoebus is good enough. They're not an underdog, if you will. I dispute that. However, it's surprising they won the way that they did, and really the dominant fashion, 23-7. And that's where we begin the Hats Hits here on this particular Friday and the Saturday weekend here of September. NFL's underway. Hopefully everybody got a chance to watch. I got to see some of it until they booted me out of the wing place I was in. I can't give them a shout out because they don't sponsor this. They want to sponsor this or 757 Saturday Sports Talk on Kova Sports TV. I'll be delighted to shout that joint out at any given time. Nonetheless, Eagles held on and beat the Pack in Brazil in a wild one, 34-29. Both teams held to field goals in the fourth quarter. If you had the over, you felt pretty good about that, as Saquon Barkley's debut was a good one. Jalen Hurts gave the Packers a Hurts donut, and Philly's off and flying. But back to the Highland Springs Phoebus game for a second. So last week, Highland Springs just annihilated Manchester, so much so that they ran for 242 yards, and their outside zone just carved up the Lancers, multi-pronged backs, and they got good running backs now. There's Lauren Johnson's team with Eric Bird and Daron Ferguson. But running on Phoebus is a different obstacle. It's a different challenge and a different task all together. And they were up for the challenge, were the Phantoms. They left no doubt that they have as good a defense, as stout a defense as there is in the state, bar none. They outgained Highland Springs 306-68. And they outrushed them 194-4. How do you go from 242 on the ground to just 4 the next week? Well, you got dudes that lay the lumber and hit the smack. Boom, right in the mouth. Boom, and a kisser with Caleb Tillery and Brendan Thompson at linebacker. One of the best line leaders in the state. 4-year starter, all-state guy, both sides of the ball. Marcus Hobson, who's going to Howard. Noah Jefferson, Najee Gay. They have a lot of guys on that defense. That whole defense eats. And they pretty much bottled up Highland Springs the entire night. So shout out to them. That was the first Hats hit, as we've got it right here. And we'll try to get the graphics built here for you too as well. Have to give big props to the Phoebus Phantoms. Ultra impressive 23-7 road win. It's only the second time in the last 96 games that the Springers have been held to single digits. Defense wins championships, and Coach Jeremy Blunt has another stellar bunch eager to pursue its place in history. So if you want to interact with us, you can always chime in here. Any questions, comments, thoughts you have, we'll be glad to entertain them throughout this session. Number 2 on the Hats Hits for this particular episode. It's early to have, the conversation of who's the best receiver in the state in Virginia in 2024. It's, we've always had one or two guys that just, puts their neck out there. I think Keelan Brody Adams comes to mind from Green Run last year, who set records now at Virginia Tech. We think of some of the incredible wide receivers of the years. I think of a Taylor Morin from Westfield, who was out of this world. The Spalding brothers at South County, they were just unreal. And there's a guy right now at Matoaca, which blanked Warhill tonight 35-0, and his name is Dillon Newton-Short. And he's not the only good receiver on that team. Bryce Yates, by the way, his teammate's going to Pitt. He's a fine pass catcher. But last year, 22 touchdown grabs for him, a school record. And I spoke with him during the ODU 7-on-7 in the summertime after he committed to UVA, and he wanted to break that record this year, and he's doing a darn good job. Two catches tonight, as my colleague Will Garlick saw, TDs for him. right out of the chute. And he's a different dude. And last year, Matoaca got beat by Warhill. Tonight, didn't get beat. Won by a running clock margin. And Matoaca looks like that team to win Region 5C, especially with LC Bird losing tonight to Thomas Dale in the Battle of Chester. More of that in a bit. We've got a number 2 in the state in Class 5 on Virginia Preps. This is a game where you said, all right, antennas up, because they lost it last year and they passed the test with flying colors. Now, we got some real good talent on this team. Montino Williams is a teammate committed to UVA. Caleb Williams, a defensive end, going to South Carolina. And we'll keep an eye on Matoaca. Are they ready to take that next step? They lost in the state semis last year to Stonebridge. Well, Newton-Short, he's a guy that can take over a game. You better double cover him, because you single him up, he's going to get TDs. He's going to beat you. He can run the whole route tree, the fades, the bubbles, the posts, the slants. He's going to get it. And right now, leader in the clubhouse. There's some other guys out there, I'm sure. Give me the names. Give me the names, whether they're in the 757, 804, Nova, Southwest. I'm sure there's other names. Right now, you got your work cut out to beat Newton-Short, because he's setting that bar, I think. Listen, there's some good guys out there. There really are. He's right now, if I'm starting a fantasy football receiver draft, he might be my first pick. I'm not going to get an argument from me if you're taking him one. Number 3 on the Hats hits this evening, and there were some others that didn't make the cut. Honorable mention, which we'll get to. They've got something cooking at William Fleming on offense. And I touched on it last week. It's hard to tell when you win 90-0 over Hidden Valley, turn them into ranch dressing. 2 games in the books, 145 points, as they now put up another big number on the board, a crooked number on the board. 55 as they beat Albemarle. Took them apart. And Albemarle is not a bad football program traditionally. So they win this 55 donut. And they had a freshman find the end zone last week. A couple of different players scored. Malachi Coleman's one of the fastest kids in the entire state. He's going to Syracuse. Fleming, Coach Nick Leftwich, I've heard more and more buzz about them in the recent days and weeks and months leading up to doing our top 10s and this season kicking off. And, last year they pulled off the 8-1 upset when they beat Patrick Henry of Roanoke, then beat Douglas Freeman in overtime and lost to Matoaca in that region final. Well, they got Salem coming up next week. That's going to be a showdown now at Salem Stadium. Can they beat the Spartans? This is not the Spartans with Chris Cole and Peyton Lewis. Those 2 guys are playing in the SEC. Cole at Georgia, Lewis at Tennessee. And William Fleming, to beat Salem, they had to do something they haven't done since 2002 when they won 14-6. They have now lost the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games against them. You don't need the defense to step up and play like it's been playing the last 2 weeks, but the question is going to be, can Salem bottle up this attack? Because Fleming's planning on making that scoreboard turn over a lot. They've caught my attention. If they caught yours, let us know. All right, number 4 on this Hats Hits rewind, if you will. So we wind down past midnight. Everybody out there doing the hey, oh, hey. All right. Number 4, let's give the small school some love. And that's the Alta Vista Colonels, being one of those, schools that don't have the large enrollments at your 6-5-4-3s. They're in Class 1, the Dogwood District, Region B. And they pitched a 24-0 shutout of George Wythe, and I kind of outthought myself. I watched their game last week on an FHS network against Central Lunenburg. They were down by 8 in that game, down 9 at one point in the first half. LaDanian Stone wasn't at full strength or fully healthy. He must have been tonight. 24-0, they shut out George Wythe, who last week beat Radford, the VHSL Class 2 champ, by 21 points, 3 TDs. I know it's not Radford of 2023 with Landon Clark, who's at Elon. Nonetheless, when a Class 1 beats a Class 2 like that, and it's teams viewed as contenders, it gets your notice. And I thought, Alta Vista, sort of like last year, they might hit their stride late. It might not come out of the gate. But this is a program last year, first-year head coach, Matt Deloach. We know he has an awesome first name. They got hot. They beat Sussex Central, won the region championship, sort of a surprise story. And they didn't graduate, but like 5 to 8 seniors. Not a lot of seniors they graduated. So here they are. Stone is back at running back, and the defense now looks equipped to take that next step, and they can go a long way. They held Lunenburg to about 40 yards in the second half last week, and tonight, Wythe gets a goose egg. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Zippo. All right, Alta Vista, now you're making me look good for ranking you number 2 in the state behind only Essex. And maybe, just maybe, you are, as one coach out in the southwest of Virginia told me, you should put them number 1 in your top 10. Well, Juan Thornhill's alma mater, people, better pay attention. They've won championships before in football and basketball. And the Colonels, shout out to my guy Kyle Haney from KD Country Radio. He does a great job doing the play-by-play for the sports there. The Colonels, you better pay attention because Thornhill's school might be making a run at some hardware. That was a great basketball group they had. Got a chance to call their tournament games for the NFHS Network when they had Michi Malbeck and the Johnson brothers, Demetrius and Darius, for the great Mike Cardellaro, now the AD at Perry McClure and Buena Vista. And now Thornhill with the Cleveland Browns, a teammate of another Virginia native in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. The Brownies, Thornhill got himself some bling, got himself a ring as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. Not just one ring, but he got 2 rings. So I'm going to get up. Watch this. If you're watching on the screen, I'm going to literally vanish into the studio. I'm getting up on the other version. Watch this. I'm going to get my ring, my championship ring. This is what you guys play for. I'll tell you football players out there. This is what you do it. This is why you do all those 2-a-days. This is why you do all that blood, sweat, and tears. Look at me. I come back into the screen for you. Look at this bling I got. Look at this great ring. Look at that. That's what you do this for. You do it for the bling, for the ring, for the hardware. That's what you do it for, people. That's what you do it for. It's number 4, Alta Vista. They're going for the ring come December. And the last one, number 5, last but not least, the game I saw. I've taken all this time to get to the game I saw. What a doozy it was. Maury Commodores and the Wise Pumas, 20-14. They got it done. A lot of different twists and turns in this ball game. Maury jumps out. Wise can score. Wise takes the lead with a 15-play drive in the third quarter, but Maury comes right back. A couple of key third-down conversions without Torrey Newkirk. First half, we saw LeBron Bond make a couple of splendid TD catches. The Indiana Hoosiers commit. We saw R.A. Watford get a strip sack, which Carlton Smith was in, and I'm going to get to Carlton Smith here in a moment. And then late in the ball game, second to last play, Wise gets the ball back because Maury couldn't run the clock. And they took a knee on first down. Wise used the last 2 timeouts, 4th and 1, they ended up punting it. And they're fighting from their own 21-yard line. And it's a big pass that gets ricocheted, deflected, 53-yard. We're like, uh-oh, what in the world is this? The Stanford Cal band play on the field? And they actually got a shot at the end of the game. Not a shot like in basketball, but a pass off. And it was in the end zone and did not get caught. And that was the ball game as Maury exhaled. They lost on the final play a few years ago in a heartbreaking state championship to Stonebridge. And tonight, that was not going to happen as they end up getting it done over to Pumas. And Carlton Smith was a big reason why. By my count, unofficially, had him with 11 tackles, 5 solos, 6 assists. He was in on a recovery. He was everywhere at linebacker, number 11. If you watched the game tonight, if you were there or you watched it on NFHS Network, you saw him get it done. And he transferred into Maury in the offseason from St. Francis Academy up in Baltimore. So he's a Maryland boy that became a Virginia guy and beat the old state champs. And the Terps are getting a good one. He is a really good player. I was interested when I first laid eyes on him in the spring, heard about him, saw footage, how he would move sideline to sideline. And I'll tell you what, he's among the best linebackers in the state. And he's playing next to a linebacker in Isaiah Ike Simmons Jr., who will, knock the putty out of you. He's really, really good. And he's getting more Power 5 attention and offers by the day. And that defensive front's got R.A. Watford going to Clemson. Back end, you got Kendall Daniels, who's flying all over the place. He's as rangy as it gets. South Carolina commit at safety. This was a quality win for Maury on a night where they didn't really have their A game. It was more like their B minus effort. Had some penalties. They got to clean up some things. But ultimately, you take the win and you move forward with a couple of big tests still looming as they take on Highland Springs, who's angry, mad, and Dinwiddie the week after that. They'll come down to Powhatan Field to take on the Commodores. I'm really curious to see that matchup. Harry Dalton and that up-tempo offense against the Commodores defense. So A lot happening on this night. A few more I want to get to that didn't make the cut. EC Glass, big win for the Hilltoppers and Coach Jamar Lovelace's group. They beat Lord Botetourt in overtime last week, 11-8. Got the job done. And then they turn around, and after that, they take on Patrick Henry Roanoke, who last year beat them, and here they are. Glass getting the win. Good win for them as they prevail in this matchup with PH Roanoke. Keep an eye on them in a Seminole district. They don't have as many ballyhoo names as some other schools in that district and even in Class 4, but 35-21, it's a quality effort. The offense stepped it up and it had to. Defense did it last week. And again, they lost that matchup last year. I want to say it was 31-21 they lost it last year, something like that. But could have to start paying a little more attention to them. And with Highland Springs going down tonight, you wonder about Class 6 a little bit. You know, Hayfield's still our number one team, but below them, who's that big challenger? You got Battlefield. Madison got themselves a big win tonight over Lake Braddock. Did it comfortably at Lake Braddock. We saw how great their defense was last week against Stonebridge. Two teams to keep an eye on in Region A. You had Thomas Dale, a winner over LC Bird in the Battle of Chester. And I know one of their running backs, according to Danny Lewis, who had the preview for us, was dinged up coming in. They were down in this game. Dale comes back against Bird, 27-16. Kevin Tucker's got a physical group. The Knights have some good depth at various positions. They're a top 10 level team. And by the way, they have a high level player on their roster in Shamari Earls, who is committed to Georgia to play his college football, the number one program in the country right now. And he's among many guys that can ball and shine for Dale. And then Oscar Smith. We didn't forget about them. The last 2 years, they fell in the region semis to Highland Springs and Western Branch, but they're back on the scene trying to be in the championship hunt. Remember, they won 2 in the same calendar year to Chris Scott's team, the COVID year. Sophomore quarterback in Lonnie Andrews III, big-time junior wide receiver in Travis Johnson. They got the 1-2 running back Thunder Lightning combination with Tajay Curtis, Brandon Nesbitt on the ground. Offensive line was not totally consistent last year. I think it's better this year. And they can not only be the best team potentially in the Southeastern District, but they can be a real threat to win the Region 6 state crown and possibly get to the state finals a little sooner than some thought. Some were wondering if they're a year away from being championship level good. Well, 2 games in the books, 98 points as they dust off Norcom and Hermitage. They have some more teams coming in the SCD, the Nansman Rivers, the Indian Rivers, Kings Fork, who beat them last year. We'll get a good gauge there. But the offense it's starting to grow. And Dale and Smith are 2 teams in Region 6A I'm watching to see if they can get on that quest to there we see whether they see a Hayfield or a Madison or a Battlefield in the state playoffs. Class 6 has got some really good football teams for sure. Couple more and then we'll finish up. Maybe get any questions we have. Someone just asked me a question about I'll get that in a second. College football, what game I'm most looking forward to tomorrow, or I should say Saturday. Couple more games. Woodgrove beats Mountain View. And I was just giving Mountain View all these flowers last week. How we undersell you, we underrate you. And Woodgrove turns around and beats you. It's a good bounce back for them losing to Loudoun County last week. But hey, nice job by them. How about Independence? 21-20 over Tuscarora. Thought about ranking Independence. They got hammered pretty good by Massaponax last week. RJ Windows' team, salute to you. We know you have talent. We know you've got potential. You're coming. They had lost to Tusky 70-27, 42-13 the past 2 times they played. This is the type of signature win that can springboard Independence, a still relatively new school. Huge win for them, 21-20 over Tusky. Keep an eye on an Independence. They're a program on the rise. This is a win that can really send them on their way to show them more of that. We talked about Dale winning the Battle of Chester and Smith's point production. Clark County in Class 2. We sort of highlighted some teams in Class 2 last week. 28-20 over King William. Nice job for them. Casey Childs' team. They win a little bit of a battle with King William, who's a Class 2 threat, and now 2-0 for the Eagles. They're starting to soar. And then some 7-5-7 teams that are not championship level good, but they're making some noise here early on. Ocean Lakes thumped First Colonial pretty good. I told people in our preview show, watch out for them. They're a sleeper. They can be a top 4 finisher, a playoff participant. Nice combination with Noah Cologne, Devin McGill leading the way for them on offense. Took care of FC with ease after 2 close ones within the last couple of meetings, including the double overtime, I think it was 2 years ago. Granby, Oliver, kick it 10. I saw Granby last weekend against Denby. Competition is going to get tougher for them. Obviously, in the Eastern District, we'll see more at the end. You'll have your Norcom, your Churchlands, your Lake Taylors in the middle here. But the Comets are going to start to generate more and more buzz as we move forward here. They have a lot of home run hitters from that team. Shanique Wright, Amon Cuffey, Dravion Tharrington, Damari Palmer in the backfield, guys on defense that want to rip the ball away, including Cuffey, who had 9 picks last year. Smithfield, that's a really good win for them to beat Churchland. Bay River's team now 2-0. We have to look at the Packers a little closer. They got the win tonight, but Green Bay didn't. Tracy Parker's team, salute to them. Kyle Buggs at quarterback, maybe a new name on the scene here. Kenye Martin was the top rusher coming back in the BRD. All right, we don't know if they can challenge the Lafayette's Precocious just yet, but hey, Smithfield's got to be thinking this could be a fun year in Class 4 Region A, which after Phoebus, in that second, third spots are up for grabs in the region at least. And Cox was in a tussle early, and then they just absolutely demolished Bayside after that. Their defense looks legit. Max Palmerton at quarterback did a good job managing the offense last week in their shutout of Lansdowne, and here they are doing some really good things. And Tyler Noe's team looking like, we gave a lot of love to Salem as that second team in the beach after Green Run. All right, Cox has got Green Run coming up on September 20th, 13 days. Can this defense, can they slow down a lethal quick strike Stallions team? I'm not sure they can. Falcons won a bunch of close games last year, and Tyler Noe is out to show that they can advance in the postseason and be a team that's still around come Thanksgiving weekend. So, like what I saw from them too. Again, someone asked me, what is the game most interested in for college football on Saturday? Well, Texas-Michigan is the game at high noon that people are, and thanks that question out there to Jerry. Texas and Michigan are the two teams everybody's sort of looking at because Michigan's a defending champion. Texas is favored by a touchdown or so, maybe a little more. And you go, all right, Longhorns, 12 noon, had a couple injuries to the running back room. I'm not so sure this game's going to be all that tight. And I don't know if it's going to captivate me from soup to nuts, start to finish. So while I'd be inclined to take that like most people, I'm not going to pick Texas and Michigan. And I know I'm not going to pick Dion in Colorado against Nebraska. I'm sure everybody was wondering about that too. Clemson, Appalachian State doesn't get me. East Carolina, Old Dominion is a neat game for people around the 7-5-7. Virginia, it's not the best game on the board for me. I'm looking for two ranked teams or ranked against another level quality foe. We don't have the real spicy game or a couple of games we did last week, like Notre Dame, Texas A&M, and Florida State in action, and Clemson, Georgia, which didn't quite live up to its hype and lofty billing. I'll give you a sneaky game. And I don't know if this is the best game on the board by any means. I think of this as a basketball game. I got a funny feeling, 2 games actually. Kansas at Illinois. I got a funny feeling in Champaign, Brett Bielema's team is going to spring the mild upset. Even though I know some people will pick Illinois like I am because Altmaier's coming off a 4 TD effort in the opener, passing. And then Tennessee, NC State. NC State was not impressive whatsoever. I think Grayson McCall and company are going to bounce back, especially the defense is going to bounce back after their escape, if you want to call it, against Western Carolina. And Tennessee could have a pretty legit offense. That to me looks like the game. Tennessee, NC State. There you go. That's the one I'm highlighting. One of those two, Tennessee, NC State, or Kansas, Illinois. Overtime. Banking on it. All right, that's going to do it. Almost 30 minutes. I went way too long, and it's way too late. It's almost 1 a.m., not quite past my bedtime. I'll be up for a while. But make sure you are up with us from 9 to 11 a.m., a little earlier time than we've been the last couple of weeks for 757 Saturday Sports Talk on Cova Sports TV with yours truly and the coach, Ed Young. We'll take your questions, your suggestions, your comments. Might even sprinkle in a couple of special guests. And we have our first NFL Week 1 picks on the show. I think I now have the over-under totals from last year tabulated. I don't know if I want to really put them out there because it was a lot better for Edward than it was for me. And we will let folks get a glance at our picks throughout the year as far as the over-unders go. And we'll give you 3 winners for a week number 1 in the league where they play for pay. Always fun. High school football is really revving up now. We've got some good matchups still on the horizon. This was a really, really compelling week of games, and it should be a lot of fun. Good night or good morning to you out there, Coach Wright, as well. My man from Lakeland, Hoops Coach. Thanks for interacting and staying up with us. And we'll do it again with you next time right here on the Hits IG special. See you later, folks. Have a good one. And yes, we'll give you some love out there, Coach Bateman. We just put it on the screen as we ended the IG live, but we're still up on our YouTube. So give you some love. Thanks for interacting with us. Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to Cova Sports TV, where you can watch me and Coach Young on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. We're on, I think, LinkedIn now, Facebook. We're all over the web, in addition to IG. And we will talk to you on Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the Hash with Hatfield. You see in the corner. Go check out that playlist from last year, all the great interviews we did with that and content. And we've got 757 Saturday Sports Talk too. Later, Gators.